Recording in progress.
Hey guys, it's Karen and I am back again. I'm so excited that you're back. Dr. Lisa is back again with us, and we had such great questions and great feedback from the last video. I wanted to bring Lisa back in. So Lisa is a doctor. She does focus on hormone health and is a pharmacist, which is actually very cool. So before we jump in, tell us a little bit about you in case they missed our last video on adrenal health, which I'll share the link with that. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so good to be back here with you. I'm Lisa. I'm a pharmacist, and I work with women to help them balance their hormones and improve their symptoms, specifically during the perimenopause, early menopause years. So mostly women who are in their 40s and 50s-ish, because we know sometimes it can start even earlier than that. So
And later.
So kind of all across that spectrum, we work to improve symptoms, primarily increasing energy, having more even, stable moods, and helping just to, feel better in your clothes, keep that waistline a little bit trimmer in these perimenopause to menopause years. So all that good stuff.
Which I personally can attest to, that is kind of annoying. So I deal with it myself. I always talk about it. I'm an open book. And since starting perimenopause about 3 years ago, I have gained 30 pounds. And so we do it, and it doesn't matter. I shouldn't say it doesn't matter, but looking at, well, I'm doing the same things that I did before, they're not working. It's really important that, because I too said that, I'm like, I'm still exercising, I'm still eating right, I'm still doing all these things. But your body does evolve. And through that evolution, through that change, you kind of have to evolve with it. So I wanted to bring you on today because as a health and wellness coach, my focus really is fitness and nutrition. And so that's really my level of expertise. And in your level of expertise, it's a little bit more with hormones and really being able to guide women and put those puzzle pieces together. And I tell people all the time, I am no expert in everything. My goal is just to help you and support you and guide you with the information that I have, and direct you into, direct you in the right area of people that are experts with what you have. So when I first started going through perimenopause, and like I said, it was probably about 3 or 4 years ago. Apparently time stops for me, but so it really was about 4 years ago at this point. I was using 20-pound weights. I literally had to drop down to 8-pound weights, just for an average workout. I was running all the time. I had to slow down my running. My mile time increased by almost 2 minutes a mile, which I was like, what in the world? I wasn't sleeping at all. And I am a sleeper. I'm Mr. Bean. I can fall asleep on a train. I can fall asleep standing up. It doesn't matter. I'm a sleeper. All of a sudden I wasn't sleeping. I couldn't fall asleep and I couldn't stay asleep. I say it all the time, as much as people don't like to talk about it. I had all kinds of issues with my lady parts, and my libido dropped, and it took a toll on my marriage. Because I'm a sexy thing, whether I gain 30 pounds or not, and so the hub's always chasing, and I wasn't wanting that. And so I was going through so much, and I finally started talking to my mom, and she's like, well, it sounds like you're in perimenopause. What the hell is that?
What are you talking about, Mom?
Well, I know. I'm like, and you tell me this now. So we had a great conversation, and I went to my doctor, told her all the stuff. I gave her everything. I laid it on there. And I know that that's not easy for a lot of people to do. And obviously that's a whole nother, Pandora's box that we can open, is how to just talk and open up those conversations, whether it's with your partner or with your doctor. But I told her everything. And I will say I was blessed with a doctor that knew what she was doing, which I know, talking to so many women now, that is not the case. And one of the things that she offered was HRT, Hormone Replacement Therapy. And I started taking that. And I got to tell you, it was like the light switch went back on. I felt amazing. And so when I talked to other people and I did more research and I really got into hormone therapy, to guide more women. Obviously, there's so many mixed messages of, should we use it? Should we not use it? Is it dangerous? Is it not dangerous? Am I too old? Do I have, a family history that is telling me I shouldn't use it? So I kind of wanted to bring you in and allow you to kind of talk about hormone replacement therapy, because I think it really is something that women want to know about, but either one, they don't know what to ask, which again, why are we not talking about it? Or two, they've heard negative things. And so right away it's off the table. So I'm going to let you take over. I just wanted to share a little bit about my experience. I had an amazing experience with it. I know that's not the case for everybody. So going into this and deciding, is this something that I should even look at? What are some of the things that you tell your clients?
Yeah, I think you sharing your story was super helpful there, because it helps, it really highlights, why are some people successful on HRT, hormone replacement therapy, and some not. And I think this is where I can really put my pharmacist hat on.
Right.
I worked directly with HRT for the majority of my career as a pharmacist. And what my biggest takeaway from all of that time is that there continues to be no magic bullet. We look at HRT hoping that it will be the magic pill or the cure-all. I'm going to start taking this estrogen and it's going to help all my symptoms. And for the great majority of people, that's not the case. We can't just look at HRT like it's in silo. And that's the problem I see with it, is because when women do start HRT thinking this is going to solve everything, and don't still focus on adrenal health, don't focus on, eating regularly, nourishing their bodies, you're disappointed, right? Because for most of us, it's not a cure-all. And in fact, if you take HRT and you don't do anything else, in a lot of cases, it makes things worse than when they started.
Okay.
HRT can be a beautiful, wonderful thing that helps women so much. And I'm so glad that was your experience. I'm not at all against HRT, but I always encourage women to know that it's not going to be the magic pill.
Right.
HRT is something that is good to come in and really help fine tune things. When you're already addressing adrenal health, you're already working to lower your stress hormones, you're already focusing on other things. And then HRT can come in and really fine tune things and make you feel that much better. So that's kind of my HRT soapbox. And as far as things to look for, should I not even consider? Should I consider? There are a couple major no-nos when it comes to HRT, and even those are typically not a never say never. So speaking to the audience now, if you are a breast cancer survivor, for example, there will be a lot of doctors out there who will initially automatically say, no, you're not a candidate. It's very, very rarely is there a matter of fact, yes or no decision in pharmacy.
Okay.
Just like everything else, we look at all the pieces to the puzzle. How long have you been in remission? What other risk factors do we have? And there's also the option of, what kind of HRT are we doing? Are we doing estrogen? Are we doing estrogen and progesterone, which I always recommend doing together? Or am I just doing progesterone? Because that doesn't have all the risk factors that estrogen has. So there's questions to ask, there's factors to look at before you say, absolutely not, this is not for me. But I do always encourage it to not be your first go-to in silo.
Okay.
You start doing HRT along with working with Karen, who's awesome and who's helping me get all these other things straight to help support my body and body during this phase. And then let's bring in that HRT to help complement that.
Well, I think it's similar to like when people are like, but I'm working out and I'm not losing any weight. Well, have you changed anything else? Are you still getting any more sleep? Are you nourishing your body? And so, one of my questions, and I get this a lot, is, and I try to give them my best level of expertise on this, but with regard to HRT, so mine was a pellet. I was taking testosterone, which obviously is why my workouts were positively affected. The testosterone made a huge, increase of energy and strength and all, and also why my libido went Crazy.
The hubs was happier. Yes.
So I did not lose any weight in it though. So it's not a weight loss, solution.
No.
That wasn't even what I was just trying to, not feel like crap all the time.
Right.
But, so there's different types of HRT, and like I said, mine was a pellet. What are some other things that are out there that we should know about?
Yeah, there's a lot of options. So there's creams, there's pellets, as you said, certain hormones you can do in capsules, there's lozenges, there's injectables. We don't do as much for women. That's typically more men. But there's a lot of options out there. And that's also one of the great things about HRT is that it's customizable. I should pause here for a moment to remember there's prescription HRT. There's more and more out on the market now. And then there's compounded HRT. So I don't know if you've talked to your community much about that, but compounded HRT is what we call bioidentical.
Mhm.
That's a little bit more of a natural-ish way to go, if you want to look at it that way. And it can be very customized for you. So if you were somebody who tried the pellets, that didn't work for you. Okay, well, maybe a cream is going to be your better option.
Right.
So we're always looking at you as the woman, the individual, and saying what's best for you. Don't ever allow yourself to be treated like the woman next to you. Just, don't accept it because it's not right.
I think that's important to understand is one, if one thing doesn't work, that doesn't mean you're down and out. That doesn't mean you have to accept this, number one. And number two, like you said, if your doctor is not willing to work with you and give you other alternatives when something isn't working, it is 100% okay to go get a second, third, and fourth opinion. I told, because people are like, but I've been to this doctor for 10 years. That's amazing. And maybe their expertise was delivering your babies and postpartum and all that great stuff. But that doesn't make them an expert in this other second, season that you were in. And so it's important to understand that there's other options. If one doesn't work, there are other options. If the pellet hadn't worked, I would hope that my doctor would have been like, okay, but we also have, option B, C, and D. How about we try one of these?
Sure.
So I'm glad you brought that up because that is important. Do I need to be concerned about the old, wives' tales of the horse urine and the breast cancer? Because I know that's one that people are still holding on to from like 20 years ago. A very, very random small study and somehow exploded, and that's all people hang on to.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So two parts there. Premarin, yes, Premarin comes from pregnant horse urine. Premarin started out as, oh my goodness, just the wonder drug. This is going to save everybody, change everybody's lives. We've since learned better. We now know that Premarin is a synthetic estrogen. So your body's never going to tolerate a synthetic hormone as well as it does more natural or bioidentical forms of estrogen. So not a fan of Premarin. There's much better options for you these days. Yeah. And speaking to the study sides of things, we actually now are starting to flip the coin on that. And we now have data that's showing that study that you're referring to. Oh, maybe we jumped the gun a little bit. Now we're seeing that using HRT, at least for your first 5 years post-menopause, actually is having a lot of really amazing health benefits as far as bone protection of your breast tissue, all of these wonderful things. So now it's kind of flipping a little bit. So it'll be interesting. I love how in medicine we know something until we don't know it. Then we know something.
Yeah, it swings back and forth. But I do wish that conversation is promoted and put out there like the original one. Like, can you talk a little bit more about this, please? Because women are still stuck from what their mothers or their grandmothers told them. So with regard to hormone therapy, whether I'm using a cream or a pellet or, I didn't even know they had lozenges. I love that. That's amazing. Am I ever too young? Am I ever too old? Is there ever like a cutoff where they're like, you know what, HRT is just not going to be your solution, or it's way too early for you to start this?
Yeah, not really. Again, I never say never. I've learned to never say never when it comes to medicine. We're always weighing the pros and the cons of things. If you're younger than 40, if you're still in your reproductive years, yes, a different conversation needs to take place because it's going to impact your cycle and such. As far as the other end of the spectrum, am I too old? Do I need to stop? I'll give you an example of a woman I used to work with who I knew her up until she was in her 80s. This was back when I used to work in a physical pharmacy where we dispensed HRT. And she was 81, 82, and she was still coming in and picking up her HRT. And, she told me one day, she said, so many people have told me to quit. I'm too old. But she said, I feel amazing. I'm being monitored by my doctor. We check my levels, I stay on top of things. And I said, okay, well then, go for it.
Yeah.
Again, everybody is different.
Yeah.
So really, really no, it just depends on you.
And it really is. It's just because it worked or didn't work for even your close family member. It could be your sister and you're like, well, it didn't work for my sister, so it's not going to work for me. Not necessarily. Not necessarily the case. With regard to HRT, and so I know something is off. I go to my doctor. What kind of questions should I be asking to open up that conversation of possible treatment options with hormone therapy?
Yeah. Always ask questions. You can start by asking your doctor, what do you know? Are you familiar with hormone replacement therapy is a great place to start. And if there's not, there's resources that can help you find a provider who is.
Yeah.
But you definitely want to have that conversation about their openness to it. Because HRT is a topic that people have strong opinions about one way or another. So you want to make sure that you're working with a provider who's like-minded as you and who isn't going to just shut you down when you ask questions. That would be a red flag. One thing, so that you have some inside information, always ask about progesterone. That is a one that is commonly missed in women in our phase of life. Not cycling, especially if you've had a hysterectomy, if you don't have a uterus, that's the first thing you'll hear is, okay, then you don't need progesterone. And I will sing it till the day I die. Yes, you do. Progesterone helps offset your estrogen. You need the two of them together, almost like they're married. They have to go together. Okay. So that's something to just jot a note to yourself, look it up on the side, reach out to me or Karen to ask more. But definitely have progesterone on your radar and just keep asking questions. Don't settle.
Right. I think that's great advice. I have to tell you, I didn't even know. When I had the conversation with my mom, it wasn't like she said you can have, because she had a hysterectomy. So I think her menopause experience was so different. Well, I know it was so different, but when I went to my doctor, she had like a big stand-up advertisement for the pellets, and I wouldn't have not even had known to ask about them. I'm assuming she would have told me about it because I asked her, what is that sign in the front room? But if you feel like your doctor is not giving you other options, not even addressing besides the normal, well, either one, they hear everything is fine, you're in the normal range. Yeah. Which, by the way, if you're feeling like shit, it's not normal. Right. Or they get, move more, eat less. That's another one. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Right. So I think it's important that we continue to talk that there's options out there. And just because things are common, and this is one thing I preach about incontinence, just because things are common doesn't mean they're not treatable. So just because it's common for our body to decrease the hormone levels doesn't mean we can't work with our body and treat it and help it and, let it feel good. So, no, I'm glad you said that about if you're not getting what you're looking for, or if your doctor has their own, preconceived, bias theories, and they're not willing to do anything for you. That's a huge red flag. I didn't even think about that, because you always think they're there to serve, they're there to make you feel better. But if they're ones that are like, I don't believe in HRT, they might not even address it to you. And so I'm glad you brought that up, because that is important. So if the doctor shuts you down on options, that's a good idea to open up that conversation with somebody else. And I always tell people, you've got to talk to your family. You've got to talk to your family. what did your aunts experience? What did your mother experience? If your grandmother's still around, what did your grandmother experience? And talk to your girlfriends. Girl, we go to brunch. I'm talking about vaginas the whole time. Tell me about your vagina. What's going on? I need to hear everything. So, we're doing a great disservice by not opening those conversations.
Yes.
Because if I didn't talk about HRT, my best friend might not realize that that's even an option for her.
Yes.
So I think that's so important. Thank you so much for joining us again. And I know, like I said, I've got a zillion questions for you because there's a whole different perspective of what you come in with and a level of, expertise that you have that I don't have, that I want to give my community and I want to share with them. And obviously the biggest questions I get are centered around hormone health. And
Yeah.
so I definitely want to bring you back on again. So if you have some things that you're like, man, I need Dr. Lisa to talk about this, let me know and we'll get together again. And maybe next time we'll have mimosas with us, but, and it's never too early. And we'll get some more conversations going because any way we can help is our goal. And so again, I will share all of Dr. Lisa's information so that you can find her. If there's something that you're seeking that I don't have the answers to, your doctor doesn't have the answers to, this is another great resource, to just another tool in your tool belt to have, because the more tools we have, the more prepared we are able to thrive through this season. So I appreciate you coming back on. It really is great conversations to be had and so important.
Yes, no, it's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me back again.
Excellent. Okay. So again, if you have some stuff that you want us to talk about, I promise not to talk about my vagina anymore. No, I don't promise that at all. But tell us and we'll get those topics covered. All right, guys, have a great one.
Perfect. Thank you. Bye-bye.